Okay, we're ready.
Okay, call to order. Alba, if you could please do roll call.
Sure. Councilmember Yaffe.
Here.
Councilmember Tricoche.
Here.
Councilmember Salver.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Leonard.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fuller.
Here.
Mayor Bruder.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So we do the allegiance. Ready? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any request for withdrawals, deferments, and future agenda items? Anybody?
The only thing I was going to ask is, Alba, did you make the change that I asked you for in the minutes? You did? Okay, then that's fine.
Okay.
And I'm withdrawing items 7 and 8. There's still a lot of discussion. There still might be some changes to those MOUs. At this point, we're not ready to proceed with those.
Okay. Anybody else have any deferments or future agenda items? Nope. Okay. Can I have the town manager's report?
Yes, I have been asked lately a lot about the Sophie project, which is the one on 92nd Street, and the efforts to clean it up. The property owner has undertaking a big cleanup job, removing a lot of debris. This week, the fence was fixed and the dewatering has been also fixed. So hopefully no more standing water. And he's continuing to make some efforts to comply. We're also writing up some new code enforcement citations with the help of Frank, and we're still going to be moving forward with that for whatever's left that has not been addressed. So I wanted to let you know because there's been a lot of interest, a lot of residents contacting us, and they did make a pretty good effort. And we'll continue to do that. I wanted to let you know that even though it's on the consent agenda, I wanted to let you know that the Nurse Initiative has MOU has been approved by Surfside and North Bay Village. Fall Harbor, Miami Beach will have it on their September agenda. But there's also been a question to the county to see if they can cover this in under the CARES Act. There's some conditions, it cannot be budgeted, etc. But we still ask the question. Ramiro has been asking that question. We don't have an answer yet, but obviously if we receive CARES Act funding for that, then we wouldn't have to come out of pocket for this year's Nurse Initiative. Also, even though I pulled those MOUs, I wanted to get your feel on the 1% hazard pay for first responders. Basically will be our police department, and to continue to work on this. Most cities have responded positive to this. It would be paid from March 1st to December. There's a 1% hazard pay added to as a bonus to the police department or those who responded. It has to be for COVID initiatives. It has to be for COVID funding. There's a lot of things in there. There's also some questions the county has asked. Is one of the things pending is that if this going to be pensionable or not? Because you have the 1% and you have to pay for all the taxes and everything else on it. So there's still some clarification, but the general feeling, I wanted to gauge the general feeling of the council that I should continue pursuing this and talking to the PBA about the 1%.
Well, Marlene, how much do you think the cost is going to be?
Well, it's reimbursable. It would be reimbursable by the county. So I don't know that. We have to go back and see how many hours were spent by each police officer on COVID-related matters and gather all that information to submit to the county. So
okay, so
Marlene, sorry, go ahead.
That's what I said. For me, since it's not costing us anything, absolutely. If the county's willing to pay our police officers and give them a stipend for COVID-19, I'm all for it. I don't know what the rest of you
It's
feel.
still being worked out. I mean, there's a Zoom meeting to see how they're gonna pay it, because it not only talks about retroactively, but it talks forward, into all the way to December. So a lot of this is still not clear. I just want to get a general feel.
Okay, so let's, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see what Marlene comes back with, because those questions are open. I mean, I agree, especially if it's getting reimbursed, I'd love to make sure our officers get the additional funds. But the pension issue is something that has to be responded to, because that's a long-term cost that we incur, and we need to know what's going to go on there, because I'm quite sure we're not going to get reimbursed over a long period of time for pension portions. So we need to know that.
The county has asked FRS, because that's the major, pension for most of the cities. But they understand that some of the smaller cities have their own pensions as well. So we're kind of waiting to hear what FRS says, to move forward with that.
Anybody else has any comment on this issue?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah, I do
Kelly,
too.
please.
Hi.
Let Kelly go first.
I'm definitely open to this. I would like to see the numbers, that's all. And, I think it'll be minimal. I think even if it's pensionable for 6 months or a year, if you look at that tiny sliver, and we're not completely on the hook for that, our pension fund also makes investments, and, we don't bear the cost as a town completely, not at all, a very small portion. So I'm definitely open to it, numbers depending.
Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks. I'm in support of it. Obviously, even when our main office and building department, other departments had to close down, the police department doesn't have the ability to close down. They always have to run. So I'm in support of it, and obviously much more strongly in support of it that we're going to get reimbursed. So. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Isaac, Bob?
Yeah, I'm in support of it. I mean, I too would like to see the numbers, but I'm certainly in support of it.
Isaac?
Yeah, ditto whatever Bob said.
Okay, anything else, Marlene?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that we are doing some research on where else to post the town attorney RFQ. We want to get it out by Friday. We found some municipal attorneys association, and I asked Bob today which ones he had mentioned, because I've forgotten I'm not an attorney. So, but we're expanding. We're also going to be doing it with the league. So expanding where we're going to put this out, and we hope to put it out by Friday.
Okay. Anybody have any comment on that? No? Okay, Marlene, keep going.
That's it for me.
Okay, so council reports. Anybody have anything that they would like to report or let us know, or the citizens? All right.
I'll just one comment, Steph.
Okay.
Just to say that, we've all been receiving the same emails about the Sophie project, so I'm very happy for that feedback. And I think the number one topic of phone calls and other inquiries is the mask compliance. And I would like to say that since we last spoke, I have seen more police officers having interaction, and it looks to me like there's definitely more compliance. I see more people wearing them, so that's a good thing.
Actually, I wanted to mention that Kelly, I'm glad you brought up that. I've forgotten. There is more compliance, and they are writing citations, and the complaints are starting to pour in. I just wanted you to know that
I've gotten them.
People are not happy. People are not happy about giving citations. And there has been a couple of places where residents have gotten in the face of police officers and have had some chosen words for them. And we've chosen not to escalate it and not to make any arrests at this point. But it's not being well received. I'll just leave it at that. I'm sure sooner or later you'll hear from some of your constituents.
I've gotten some complaints about it, and I do want to thank, the police for, having those conversations and issuing those citations. Some of the people that are mask averse have reached out to me, and I've just explained to them that this is for their safety and this is for the safety of everyone around us. And I'm sure that every other council member is having those same conversations. And certainly if anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. please remember that the police officers are trying to protect you and your neighbors, and we ask that you treat them with, you know, as much courtesy and respect as you would like to be treated with.
I just have one question. If you're on a moped, are you supposed to wear a mask or not?
That's a good one. I don't have an answer for that.
Can you find that out? I've had a resident.
You're not supposed to be in your own automobile, so I don't know. I have to ask that question. That's interesting.
Okay, I got asked that question. I'm sure Elizabeth did too, because she was laughing. So if you could give me the answer to that question, that would be great. Right, Elizabeth?
I'm sure.
I have a question.
I'm sure a face shield will be sufficient for that.
I don't know, Isaac. Maybe I should forward them to you.
I have my portfolio of complainers too.
I'm sure you
do. So I did get asked that question, and my response to that question was that I wear a mask whether I'm running or doing anything outside of my house. So that was my response for the record.
So my understanding of the county ordinance or regulation is that the exemption is if you have some health issues where you cannot have a mask on, or if you're engaged in strenuous activity. Obviously, joggers is one thing. I have a question about people on bicycles. I don't know what the rule is, but I'd like to know about the rule with respect to people on bicycles. I mean, anybody outside, outdoors, where their face is exposed and they're going by you very close, practically on your shoulder, and breathing heavily or talking or singing or whatever it is while they're on a bike, could lead to some exposure. But so I've been asked that question. I was asked about somebody that they were walking their dog around the block. Did they need a mask? And the explanation basically it's a county ordinance which says if you're outside, you're supposed to wear a mask.
I got asked the same question about the bicycle. It's just nobody's singing. That one I didn't get.
Right.
So actually, on the League of Cities meeting that I sat in on, Bob, the one that
right.
This was actually discussed, and so the consensus was that you don't have to wear a mask if you're riding a bike. That was the generalized, if you're riding a scooter, because it's considered a strenuous activity. And the argument was that if you were sitting inside of a gym riding a bicycle, you'd have to wear one, but that's because that's an enclosed space. So that was the consensus that they came up with on that item.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Sure.
And I think they meant a scooter like the foot scooter, like like the skate.
Oh no, I'm talking about
not a motor scooter. Yeah, not a motor scooter.
All right, Marlene, if you can find that out for me, that would be great. This person is very interested in that.
Certainly, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Anything? Okay, let's move on then to public comments. Alba, is it?
Consent agenda, Madam Mayor. Sorry. I'm ahead of you, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, we have Mrs. Newhart that wishes to speak.
Okay. Mrs. Newhart, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Frances Newhart, and I live at 9920 West Broadview Drive. What I'm going to read is from how I feel about town citizens and resident safety and well-being. Why has government chosen to have an election during the coronavirus pandemic, especially when the Miami Herald just published 30 cases of COVID-19 in Bay Harbor Islands and had previously shut down both Town Hall and the community center? Also, after being shut down, why had they chosen this particular Town Hall as our only voting station and continue to offer summer camp at this particular community center when the Miami Herald stated, and that was on 7/20/2020, Miami-Dade and Miami Beach shut all summer camps? Perhaps during the coronavirus pandemic, this may have become a very desirable time for the council and for the two incumbents to easily win and outmaneuver the new candidate, especially when they are having many virtual council meetings, plus or minus 2.5 hour meetings with hardly any interruption, with public discussion, to choose a new town manager without questioning possible failures of the previous town managers. What I'm going to get into is the town manager and what is slated his job. And first of all, you allowed the previous town manager responsible for the TDR program. And at that same time, our senior town attorney is being investigated by the FBI for allegedly 4.1 million of TDR monies. Allowing the previous town manager responsible for not overseeing code compliance and allowing private property owners, seawalls, and docks to collapse more than 50% and possibly damaging next door properties. Previous town manager responsible for the many change orders on the Causeway Island when on February 4th, 2013, in the Miami Herald, they specifically said this was a deficient bridge, functionally obsolete, lacks in a medium and sidewalks that are unprotected from motorized traffic by barriers and should be replaced by the bridge in 2018. I can go on and on. Also 1177 Kane Concourse project. There was no unity of title and they had 10 years to pull a building permit. On Church by the Sea, they were against their word. They have now tax exempt and they have Alcoholics Anonymous on the ground floor in the business district. And also they have exterior primary business sign on the ground floor in the business district that is illegal and was not discussed or approved by PNC or council. What I meant to say is that on 8/7/2020 on Meet the Candidates, besides being one of the only municipalities without term limits and an elected town mayor, both the incumbent Josh Fuller and incumbent Elizabeth Trikoshi stated they're opposed to term limits. And judging from the council working diligently with the previous town managers, I find this to be a failure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to be clear that there's no implication that any town TDR monies were misappropriated, by the former town attorney. That was scam, for a better word, that he engaged in, and he made certain representations regarding town TDR monies, but no town TDR monies were misappropriated.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Nope.
Yes. We have one more.
Okay.
Mayor Zober, please state your full name and address, please.
Linda, you need to unmute yourself.
There she is.
Mayor Linda Zober, 1231 95 Street, Bay Harbor Islands. I just wanted to know if you're walking your dog on your own property in your front door or on the side yard, do you have to wear a mask?
I don't think so.
You don't. Can I respond, Mayor?
Yes, please.
I'm looking at the ordinance now. Masks are not required at or inside a private residence.
Thank you.
If you're on your front yard, you can absolutely do it.
Thank you.
You do not need to wear a mask in your front yard. And the thought behind that is people should not be trespassing on your property, and thus it's a social distance in and of itself.
That's what I thought. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
No, that's it, Mayor.
Okay, then let's move on to the consent agenda, please.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Wait, I need
Thank
a poll vote for that, Mayor.
which one? Oh, okay,
All of them.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's all money. Go for it.
Councilmember Yaffe,
4.
Councilmember Chicoche,
4.
Councilmember Salver,
4.
Councilmember Reed,
4.
Councilmember Leonard,
4.
Vice Mayor Fuller,
4.
Mayor Bruder.
4.
It's unanimous.
Okay, and then Marlene pulled out number 8, so we have number 9. Okay,
Discussion requested by Councilmember Leonard on possible legislation that would extend anti-discrimination and sexual harassment protections to independent contractors.
I mean, again, this is kind of a little self-explanatory. A resident of Miami Beach approached the council asking if this was something that would be interest to us. I don't think it really has any negative effect. In fact, if anything, I think it exudes the kind of community that we want, that people are being treated equally and fairly. Apparently, there's a loophole pertaining to sexual harassment pertaining to individuals that are independent contractors opposed to regular employees. This was something that was approved by Miami Beach, and if you all agree, hopefully we can get this approved.
Okay. Any discussion from anybody else?
Was it, I don't know, for some reason, I'm not seeing the language of the ordinance in my package. Did everybody get it? Does everybody have a number 9?
We don't have that language.
I have number 9.
You have an ordinance?
That's discriminatory.
Isaac, you may have had the same thing I had. It's in the packet, but they stapled it together with 8. So if you went through the materials, it's in there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mayor, if I may add to
Yes.
that, this was proposed back in February prior to the 2 U.S. Supreme Court cases that came out.
Yeah.
This would, if the council were interested, I would have to revise and update it to make sure it complies with the most recent Supreme Court cases.
Yeah, can I move that we defer this until which time I can figure out where it was in my packet?
I think it's just whether to proceed with, it would have to come back as an ordinance.
Well, can we just put it on first reading, and then, I mean, obviously it's going to be on first reading, and you're going to have 2 potential, times to read it. I mean, I don't see any reason. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's also, and that's fine, but also one other thing, because it's going to come back with the revisions. Because Frank, you're absolutely right. Subject to the new rulings.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Wait,
Mayor, if I could add one thing, I think
Mayor, there's somebody that wishes to speak on the.
Okay.
And I think Frank was trying to say something too, I think.
Yeah,
so
I'll wait till the public.
That's for the public to speak. Who is Alba? I can't see who it is.
Please,
Miss Newhut.
Okay, hello, this is Frances Newhut. Number 9, first of all, I think it's a disgusting meeting. You only give opportunity for your community to speak on number 9 of the whole agenda of 9 items. Thank you. On number 9, this is a legislature type of approval. And if you look at section 62-36 and 6237, these committee meetings, or whatever they are run by the city manager. We've had poor, in other words, the city manager is in charge. In other words, it's adequate and competent administration, technical and clerical personnel, and it goes on and on about the duties of the committee under the jurisdiction of the city manager. From our standing on our city managers and the ones that you have chosen in the past, I really question whether the council should be in charge of this. And I think you should consider that, since we've had bad luck with our town managers in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else, Alba?
No, that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay.
Mayor, to answer your question with regard to mopeds, mopeds, a facial covering should be required.
Okay.
With regard to a bicycle, it would depend upon whether the person's just strolling or whether or not they're involved in strenuous biking. There's a difference between a beach cruiser driving along and someone singing versus, someone on a in a group of bicyclists, which is a peloton just flying by. Obviously that's quite different.
So Frank, essentially what you're saying is if someone's strolling, this makes no sense, but you're saying if someone's strolling and a police officer tries to pull them over and they start trying to pedal hard to get away, now they don't have to have the mask.
Yeah. It depends at the time the police officer saw them and stopped them.
I'm just saying it's kind of a
but it's funny, right? It is. And also if it were raining, they wouldn't have to because it would get wet.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. The Dade Chiefs of Police puts out legal bulletins from the Miami-Dade Police Department Legal Services Bureau. And they have posted the ordinance, but I think they're the ones that should really clarify it for our police. That's, you know, part of the police training function. So if we can make sure that our interim chief checks, or whoever's in charge of training, gets a clarification on all of the vehicles that you mentioned.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool, cool.
Anybody else? Okay, so anybody move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Night.